So Aari McDonald made an immediate impact with the Indiana Fever, so much so many Fever fans are going to be clamoring to keep her around. She played tough. She played 27 minutes on top of that, right? Like they needed every bit of it because this is a team that is bereft of ball handlers and point guard play. So on this hardship deal, she comes in and immediately plays a bulk of the game, drawing some fouls, filling out the stat sheet all around. She didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but she made her impact felt on the floor.
Today, we've got a juicy topic to dive into. The Indiana Fever's massive win against the Washington Mystics, snapping a 3-game losing streak with an 85-76 victory, and the roster shakeup that's got everyone talking. Specifically, we're zooming in on Aari McDonald's absolutely insane debut with the Fever and the tough roster decisions the team now faces.
Really great to get a lot of young, fast talent into the Indiana Fever. I also think that right now, for the current needs, having the playmaking ability and having kind of wherewithal in the WNBA with that experience is pretty valuable.
This is going to be a deep dive, so grab your snacks, settle in, and let's talk hoops. The Indiana Fever have been in a rough spot lately. They're sitting at a 2-4 record early in the 2025 WNBA season, and injuries have been hitting them hard, especially in the backcourt. Their star rookie, Caitlin Clark, has been sidelined with a left quad strain since May 26th, and if that wasn't bad enough, backup guards Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham both went down with injuries in their game against the Connecticut Sun last Friday. That left the Fever with just one healthy guard, Kelsey Mitchell, heading into June. Talk about a crisis in the backcourt. But here's where it gets interesting. The Fever didn't just sit back and take the L. They made a swift move, signing former Los Angeles Sparks point guard Aari McDonald to an emergency hardship contract. And let me tell you, Aari McDonald didn't just show up. She showed out in her debut against the Mystics on Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. In just 27 minutes off the bench, McDonald dropped 7 points, dished out 5 assists, and racked up 3 steals, leading the team in both assists and steals for the night. She was everywhere, folks. She brought energy, set the pace, and got her teammates open looks while locking down on defense. In fact, in just one game, she slid into the WNBA's top 10 for offensive fouls drawn this season. That's the kind of impact that turns heads. Fever coach Stephanie White.
Yeah, they were really important. I mean, Aari's really only had 1 day of practice. So for her, she's a point guard. So
teammate Lexi Hull said,
Aari for coming out and providing just some incredible minutes, 27 minutes, and she was ready. She stayed ready, and we needed every single one of those, and just really proud of the group today.
But here's the kicker. McDonald's contract is temporary, and with Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham expected to return soon, the Fever are facing some tough roster decisions. Do they keep Aari McDonald, who's clearly a game changer, or stick with their current roster? And how do they navigate the WNBA's brutal salary cap constraints? The WNBA is a tough league, and injuries can derail even the best teams. For the Fever, it all started with Caitlin Clark, their franchise cornerstone. Clark's been out with that left quad strain, and while she's expected to return as early as Tuesday, June 10th, her absence has left a massive hole in the offense. Caitlin's not just a scorer, she's a playmaker, averaging insert estimated stats, e.g. 20-plus points and 7-plus assists per game based on her rookie season. Without her, the Fever's offense has been struggling to find rhythm. Then, in their game against the Connecticut Sun, things went from bad to worse. Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham both left with leg and ankle injuries, respectively, leaving the Fever with just 8 healthy players. That's below the WNBA's minimum of 10 game-eligible players, which triggered the emergency hardship exception. For those who don't know, the WNBA's emergency hardship exception is a lifeline for teams dealing with injury crises. It lets a team sign a player immediately if they drop below 10 healthy players, bypassing normal roster and salary cap rules. The Fever used this rule to bring in Aari McDonald on June 2nd, and boy did she deliver. But here's where it gets complicated. The hardship contract is temporary. Once Clark or Cunningham returns, the Fever will have to make a roster move to stay within the WNBA's 12-player limit and salary cap. And with only $43,000 left in cap space for the season, according to her Hoop stats, they're in a serious bind. So, let's meet the star of the hour, Aari McDonald. Aari McDonald is no stranger to the WNBA. Drafted 3rd overall by the Atlanta Dream in 2021, she made the WNBA All-Rookie team in her first season.
As I did watch her last season with the Los Angeles Sparks, where she did average 8.7 points a game. She also averaged 3.7 assists and 1.8 turnovers, so her assist to turnover ratio is decent, and she did all of that averaging 21 minutes a game. And because last season she was out for part of the season with an ankle injury.
She spent 3 years with the Dream before being traded to the Los Angeles Sparks in 2024, where she averaged 8.7 points and 3.7 assists per game. Standing at just 5 feet 6 inches, she's a dynamo on the court. Quick, aggressive, and a defensive menace. After being waived by the Sparks before the 2025 season, she played in Australia with the Perth Lynx, but when the Fever called, she was ready to step up. And step up she did. In her first practice with the Fever on June 2nd, Coach Stephanie White was already singing her praises, saying she was impressed by McDonald's defensive activity and decision-making in the paint. But it was her performance against the Mystics that really turned heads. Let's break down McDonald's debut because it was chef's kiss. She comes off the bench, plays 27 minutes, and immediately brings a spark. On offense, she's running the show like a true point guard, setting up her teammates for open looks. She had 5 assists, including a sweet feed to Lexi Hull for a crucial bucket late in the game. On defense, she's a pest, drawing offensive fouls and racking up 3 steals. One play in the third quarter had Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston jumping out of their seats when McDonald drew an offensive foul on a Mystics player. That's the kind of energy that changes games. The Fever were down to 1 healthy guard before she arrived, and McDonald not only filled the gap, but elevated the team's play. The final score, Fever 85, Mystics 76, snapping that 3-game losing streak. So here's where things get spicy. Aari McDonald's debut was a game changer, but her contract is only temporary. Once Caitlin Clark or Sophie Cunningham returns, the Fever have to make a tough call. They've got just $43,000 in cap space, and McDonald's current hardship contract is worth $51,000. To keep her, they'd need to waive a player on an unprotected contract to free up enough cap space. The 2 most likely candidates, according to reports, are Brianna Turner, who's on an $85,000 contract, and Sydney Colson, who's on a $90,000 contract. There's also rookie Michaela Timpson, who's making $69,000, but waiving her would only work if McDonald agrees to a lower salary. Let's dive into these options and what they mean for the Fever's future. First up, Brianna Turner. She's a forward who's been with the Fever since insert year, e.g. 2023, but her impact this season has been minimal. She's averaging insert estimated stats, e.g. 2.5 points and 3 rebounds per game, and hasn't seen much court time, especially with rookie Michaela Timpson playing the same position. Turner's $85,000 contract is unprotected, meaning the Fever could waive her without long-term commitments. But here's the thing, cutting Turner doesn't solve the backcourt issue. The Fever need guards, and Turner's a forward, so her role isn't directly competing with McDonald's. Then there's Sydney Colson, a veteran guard who's been a fan favourite for her energy and leadership. She's making $90,000 this season, also on an unprotected contract. Colson's been a solid backup, averaging insert estimated stats, e.g., 6 points and 2 assists per game, but her recent leg injury has limited her availability. With McDonald stepping in and outshining Colson's role, some are wondering if the Fever might consider waiving her to keep McDonald long-term. But losing Colson could hurt team chemistry. She's a glue player who brings intangibles that don't always show up in the stat sheet. And finally, there's rookie Michaela Timpson. She's on a $69,000 contract, which is closer to McDonald's $51,000, but waiving a rookie for a short-term fix, like McDonald, might not sit well with the front office. Timpson's a forward like Turner, so her role doesn't overlap with McDonald's, but her minutes have been limited too. The Fever could ask McDonald to take a pay cut to fit under the cap, but that's a risky move for a player who's already proving her worth. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the WNBA salary cap. For those who aren't familiar, the WNBA has one of the strictest salary caps in professional sports. In 2025, the team's salary cap is, insert exact figure, e.g., $1.46 million, and teams can only roster a maximum of 12 players. The Fever started the season with just 11 players to stay under the cap, which is why they were in such a bind when injuries hit. With only $43,000 left, they can't just sign McDonald to a standard contract without making a move. This is where the hardship exception comes in handy, but it's a temporary fix. Once the roster is back to 10 healthy players, McDonald's contract expires unless the Fever can free up cap space. Fever president Kelly Krauskopf summed it up perfectly when she said,
"More bodies would be good."
The WNBA's 12-player roster limit is a huge constraint, especially when injuries pile up. Krauskopf even hinted at the idea of two-way contracts like the NBA has, which could allow teams to carry extra players without cap penalties. But that's a conversation for the next collective bargaining agreement, which is up for negotiation after the 2025 season. For now, the Fever have to work within the rules, and that means making some tough calls. Let's get back to Aari McDonald, because her performance against the Mystics deserves a closer look. The Fever were coming off a rough week, losses to the Mystics and the Sun, and a 2-4 record overall. Without Clark, the offense was stagnant, and the backcourt was a mess. Enter McDonald. In her first game, she brought exactly what the Fever needed, a true point guard who could run the offense, create for others, and play lockdown defense. Her 5 assists were clutch, setting up players like Lexi Hull, who dropped 14 points in the second half, and Kelsey Mitchell, who led the team with 24 points. But it was her defense that really stood out, drawing 3